Good afternoon. Welcome back. It is Saturday, August 19th, 2021. We got a couple of birthdays, a couple of events to talk about today. So we're going to go all the way back to 1990. This was another race at Michigan that I went to. I went to several Michigan races from 1987 through the late 90s, 97, 98. For quite a while, it was the closest track to me. Then once they put Indy on the schedule, that kind of made Michigan a kind of a secondary trip at that point. But I still went for quite a few years after Indy was added to the schedule. But on this day in 1990, Mark Martin won the race. Really was kind of a dreary atmosphere for that day. It was kind of overcast that day. I remember it being very, very cool because there was most of us had windbreakers or sweatshirts or whatever on. It was just kind of chilly. It wasn't the typical August Michigan race where it was about 80, 85 degrees and sunny. And the race, it wasn't a typical Michigan race either. I don't think it was fuel mileage or anything like that. Biggest takeaway I had from the race was Greg Sacks finished second, driving the 17 car in relief of Darrell Waltrip, who had broken his leg at Daytona. And this would ultimately prove to be Greg's third and final career top five finish. So he only had three top five finishes. The first was that surprise win in Daytona in '85 in the Dyguard backup car, basically. And then in 1990, he had a runner-up finish in the 18 car, which was Rick Hendrick, Paul Newman car at Talladega, and then this race here. So the third and final career top five finish for Greg Sacks at the Cup Series level. 2001, I vaguely remember this race. I didn't attend, but Sterling Marlin won, and this would be the return trip to victory lane for Dodge in the Cup Series level. This was also the return season for Dodge. So big milestone win for Sterling Marlin. He always seemed to have those. If he won a race, there seemed to be some big event behind it. Now our final event, and again this one takes place at Michigan as well in 2006 in the Busch race. Dale Jr. won, but not without a little controversy. Of course, he bumped Carl Edwards near the end of the race. Carl spun out. And then coming out of the pits, Carl rammed Dale Jr. in the door, and then he made a trip to Victory Lane to visit Jr. as well. So Carl, even though he was a fairly well-liked driver, he always had a few instances where he got a little fired up too. I don't have any negative takeaways on either side of this, whether Jr. spun him out on purpose or whether Carl shouldn't have retaliated. But it just made for a little bit more entertainment. So anyway, let's go to our birthdays. A few I don't have cards for. I got cards for one. We'll get to that in a minute. Born on this day in 1942, sadly passed away in 2011. He did have two Cup wins, but they were in the combination Winston Cup, Winston West race in 1971 and 72 at Riverside. Mr. Ray Elder, he was always a force on that West Coast Winston West League. Born in 1983, former IndyCar driver Mike Conway. You might remember him driving that Dad's Root Beer car that had that crazy flip in the last lap of one of the Indy 500s. I can't remember what year it was. I think it was the last lap, but he did have a pretty scary crash. Our last birthday with no cards. Born on this day in 1994, former Truck Series driver and part-time ARCA driver this year, Mr. Gus Dean. So we're going to end the video with a birthday here of a driver that... Actually, not a driver, I'm sorry. It's a Hall of Famer crew chief. Record number of championships. And he's kin to the racing dynasty of the Petty family. Born on this date, 1936, Mr. Dale Inman. 8 Cup Series championships as a crew chief, 7 with Richard, and 1 with Terry Labonte in 1984. Of course, if you remember, after Richard won the 81 Daytona 500, Dale left Petty Enterprises shortly thereafter, went over to... I can't remember if he went over to Osterland's team with Earnhardt for a little bit. Then I think he was with the J.D. Stacy group. Then he went to Hagen, where him and Terry found some success. Then in late 85, he left after he announced he was going back to Petty Enterprises, where he stayed for the balance of his career. And then, of course, Robbie Loomis took over crew chiefing the 43/44 car after Richard retired. These are just some pretty cool cards through Dale's career. Tried to line them up as best as I could chronologically. I'd like to send a couple more of these out for TTM. Did meet Dale one year at Indy. Very, very nice guy. This is a super cool insert. The Motorsports Masters. We'll flip that one around. So it does have, look at that. 8 championships. 8 championships. No one, I don't believe anybody is going to touch that one. Chad Knaus has 7. I believe Kirk Shelmerdine has, what, 3 maybe? 4 maybe? 90... He's 4. He's got 4. Kirk's got 4 because he's 86, 87, 90, and 91. And outside of that, wow, I don't know. Nobody else is really even close. So, Hall of Famer, and I think he made one of the first few classes too, and rightfully so. So anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. If the weather holds up, we should go to the Speedrome tonight. They got a big bunch of events going on. So hopefully there'll be some cool videos up from there tonight as well. So thanks again for watching, and we will see you tomorrow.